What's up? I'm Troubleshoot. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll show you how to check if your Raspberry Pi is 32 or 64-bit and how to change it from 32 to 64. If we open up a new terminal here and I type in something like uname tac-m, you'll see ARM71. If you see ARM71, it's 32-bit. If you see AArch64 instead, then you're running a 64-bit operating system. There's another way to check this if you don't necessarily understand this, and that's using getconf, one word, space long underscore bit. When we do so, it'll return 32. If this is 64, then you have a 64-bit OS. So how do we migrate from 32 to 64? Well, you can mess around with files and maybe get things working, but the absolute easiest and best thing to do is to just reinstall Raspbian OS as 64-bit. Don't worry if it came pre-installed, I'll be running through the steps in just a moment. What you need to do here is open up a file browser and copy off everything that's important to you. Desktop, documents, downloads, etc. Everything that you need to take off of the Pi, as we'll be clearing it completely, obviously because we'll be reinstalling our operating system. So from here, I'll simply shut down my Pi. What we need to do here is take the SD card out and plug it into our PC. Opening up a new file browser, boot G is where I have my Pi operating system. What I'll do here is I'll copy the config, as I've changed a few things there, but other than that, everything's still pretty much default. In the description down below, you'll find a link to the raspberrypi.com website /software, and here we'll find the installer. So install Raspberry Pi OS using Raspberry Pi Imager. I'll download for Windows here. Then open it up and click through the installer as you would anything else. Now, at the very bottom of this page here, you can manually download an operating system image. However, using this imager makes life a lot easier. When we start it up, you'll see something like this. We'll choose an OS here. Then you'll see Raspberry Pi 32-bit. That's not what we want. We'll click Raspberry Pi OS Other. Then from here, we can select 64-bit. So we have a normal version, then a light version. Currently, these are all Debian Bullseye, and you can see the size here, but scrolling down, you can get Debian Buster, the legacy version of Raspberry Pi, at the bottom here. So it's not the 32-bit versions, we'll instead be downloading the 64-bit version here, Raspberry Pi OS 64-bit. I'll select it here, then choose storage to choose where it's going to, and that's my G drive here, a 32 gig SD card. We can click settings in the bottom right to set up some things beforehand. So we can set, say, a username and password. I'll set the locale, keyboard layout, and I'll enable, say, SSH. We'll use password auth for now. Seems pretty good. You can also configure a WLAN connection here. Type in your SSID as well as your wireless password. Anyways, save when you're done and click write. Then yes, and upon doing so, it'll start imaging Raspberry Pi OS to our SD card. When this is complete, it'll make a noise if we take that option, otherwise you'll just need to watch it to see when it does finish, as we can then take out the SD card, plug it back into our Pi, and boot up Raspberry Pi 64-bit. There we go, it's now been written. Sweet, so I'll continue, close out of this, and plug it back into my Pi. Obviously, I'll need to make sure of what the IP address is, enable VNC, and then I'll be able to connect to it. I've now reconnected to it, and it's working properly. If I open up this once more, type in uname tac-m, you'll see AArch64. We can double check with getconf long bit, and this time you'll see 64. Great, we're now running a 64-bit Raspberry Pi OS. Thank you all for watching. My name's been Troubleshoot. Hopefully you found this useful, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao.